Morning, everybody. We will, if you like, we'll be in the book of Numbers again, chapter 33, I believe. Let's see, yeah, chapter 33. We're getting close to finishing up the book of Numbers, of course, 36 chapters. And if you'll remember last week, we kind of finished up with, as we're getting closer, and the tribe of Reuben and Gad had liked the looks of the land so good on the east side of the Jordan that they were wanting to get their allotment of land over there. And of course, Moses, you could feel his frustration in his words there, because it was giving him flashbacks of when they were at Kadesh Barnea and the spies went in and didn't want to go into the land. Only two of them did. And so, and then that ended up in 38 years of wandering in the wilderness, their lack of faith then. So you could see, where Moses would be worried, but they worked it out. They talked it out, and they said they were going to go into that land, they're going to cross the Jordan with the rest of the tribes and help them take the land that God has given to them to go take. And so we got that finished up. And then here we are, this chapter 33, these verses 1 through 49, the first verses. I've debated whether or not to read them, all of them or some of them, but I think I'll read through it, 1 through 49. It's going to be a review of the sites since they left Egypt, of the different places they stopped and set up camp and then moved on, is what I'm going to read through there. I'm going to try to read through all that. And some of these places historically are, the archaeologists and all, they know where some of these sites are. Some of them maybe not so much. It'd be hard to pinpoint the exact location of every stop, because if you do much watching of anything in that part of the world, as far as digging it up, you'll see when they find these cities that in the past that people claimed it didn't exist, and then they do find them, and they just prove the Bible's right once again. It's pretty nice. It's good to see that when that happens. And there's been times in history where those forces, I believe, that trying to discount the Word of God by saying something wasn't there. And a lot of times it seems like about the same time a big movement that's going on, well, they'll dig something up, and it ends up proving something somebody said didn't exist. It just seems like perfect timing. There was one, I don't know if you guys have ever heard the story of the Moabite stone, but when they found that Moabite stone, there was kind of like a movement of people who were trying to discount the Bible. And this is like 1870 or something like that. And anyway, it just proved that town was there, and it had languages on it. And I'm just not going in great detail, but if you go back and read the history on it, when it was found, it was like it was perfect timing that stone was discovered, and they verified that location. And it's not been that many chapters ago we read about here in the Exodus when they go and they have to deal with the Moabites in that part of the world. So all that becomes relevant. It's really interesting when they make those discoveries, and if you get a chance to see it, it interests me. I find it really neat. So all right, so we're going to have a review of these sites. And keep in mind, too, try to keep a perspective in your mind about these places. This is a large group of people. The last census we just read in the previous chapters was, 600,000 fighting men? And so you've got a backup population behind that. You've got the women, the children, and so forth. So you've got millions. And so keep that in mind. Imagine that multitude of people moving. That's a miracle in itself, if you think about it. And God sustaining them with manna and providing them with water when they needed it through this journey all the way up here. And that's a lot of people. That's a lot of land in a way to cover, but it's all made possible by the fact God has looked after them through the entirety of it. A long, hard journey for the individual there. At times seeming like they're never going to get there, but God sustains them through it all. All right, chapter 33. I'm going to read 1 through 49. It maybe get repetitious here. And these are, chapter 33, verse 1. These are the journeys of the children of Israel which went forth out of the land of Egypt with their armies under the hand of Moses and Aaron. So this, like I said, this is just a review. It should all be familiar, except the names of some of these locations. Some of them you're going to be familiar with because we've already read about them, but the others not. And Moses wrote their goings out according to their journeys by the commandment of the Lord. And these are their journeys according to their goings out. And that goings out, that just means where they've set up camp and moved to another site. We're in Numbers chapter 33, and we're reading about these goings on from where they go from one camp to the next. And they departed from Ramesses in the first month on the 15th day of the first month. On the morrow after the Passover, the children of Israel went out with a high hand in the sight of all the Egyptians. This is on the journey out. You remember what happened? God through Moses, got them out of Egypt there, hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he kept going back and forth, let them go, and then he wouldn't. So, verse 4, for the Egyptians buried all their firstborn. Remember, that's what they celebrate the Passover for, when the death angel went through the land at that night, and the firstborn of everyone passed away, except those of God's people, because they had made provisions on the door and the threshold, if you'll remember, to not suffer the consequences from that. Okay. For the Egyptians buried all their firstborn which the Lord had smitten among them. Upon their gods also the Lord executed judgments. And the children of Israel removed from Ramesses and pitched in Succoth. And they departed from Succoth and pitched in Etham, which is in the edge of the wilderness. And they removed from Etham and turned again until Pi-hahiroth, which is before Baal-zephon, and they pitched before Migdol. And they departed from before Pi-hahiroth and passed through the midst of the sea into the wilderness and went 3 days' journey in the wilderness of Etham and pitched in Marah. Remember, all these miracles are piling up now. We've got the crossing. We've got the miracles that God brought in Egypt. And they removed from Marah and came unto Elim, and in Elim were 12 fountains of water and 70 palm trees, and they pitched there. And they removed from Elim and encamped by the Red Sea. And they removed from the Red Sea and encamped in the wilderness of Sin. And they took their journey out of the wilderness of Sin and encamped in Dopka. And they departed from Dopka and encamped in Alush. And they removed from Alush and encamped at Rephidim, where there was no water for the people to drink. And just another miracle at this time. And they departed from Rephidim and pitched in the wilderness of Sinai. And they removed from the desert of Sinai and pitched at Kibroth-Hattavah. And they departed from Kibroth-Hattavah and they encamped at Hazeroth. And they departed from Hazeroth and pitched in Rithmah. And they departed from Rithmah and pitched at Rimmon Perez. And they departed from Rimmon Perez and pitched in Libnah. And they removed from Libnah and pitched at Rissah. And they journeyed from Rissah and pitched in Kehelatha. And they went from Kehelatha and pitched in Mount Shapher. And they removed from Mount Shapher and encamped in Harada. And they removed from Harada and pitched in Machheloth. And they removed from Machheloth and encamped at Tahath. And they departed from Tahath and pitched at Tara. And they removed from Tara and pitched in Mithkah. And they went from Mithkah and pitched in Hashmonah. And they departed from Hashmonah and camped at Moseroth. And they departed from Moseroth and pitched in Bene Jaakan. And they removed from Bene Jaakan and encamped in Hor Haggidgad. And they went from Hor Haggidgad and pitched in Jothbah. And they removed from Jothbah and encamped at Ebronah. And they departed from Ebronah and encamped at Ezon-Geber. And they removed from Ezon-Geber and pitched in the wilderness of Zin, which is in Kadesh. And they removed from Kadesh and pitched in the Mount Hor, in the edge of the land of Edom. Now we're getting back into familiar territory in the chapters we just read not too long ago, when we're coming up, can't go through the King's Highway. They can't get permission, and they're not going to fight with the Edomites, so they're going to go around them. And Aaron the priest went up into Mount Hor at the commandment of the Lord and died there in the 40th year after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt in the first day of the 5th month. Aaron had been through a lot at this time. Think about that. All these different encampments, these millions of people leaving Egypt. And this takes you back to the trouble he had at Mount Sinai with the golden calf. And he makes it this far. It's a long journey for Aaron as well. And Aaron was 123 years old when he died in Mount Hor. And King Arad, the Canaanite, which dwelled in the south in the land of Canaan, heard of the coming of the children of Israel. Well, word traveled fast even back then, even though they didn't have cell phones. It's still getting around. And they departed from Mount Hor and pitched in Zalmonah. And they departed from Zalmonah and pitched in Punon. And they departed from Punon and pitched in Oboth. And they departed from Oboth and pitched in Abram in the border of Moab. Remember, we talked about Moab, it wasn't that long ago. And they departed from Lim and pitched in Dibon-Gad. And they removed from Dibon-Gad and encamped in Almon-Diblathaim. And they removed from Almon-Diblathaim and pitched in the mountains of Abarim before Nebo. And they departed from the mountains of Abarim and pitched in the plains of Moab by Jordan near Jericho. And like we've been talking about, we're getting closer to Jericho. We know the battle's soon to come there. And they pitched by Jordan from Beth Jesmoth even unto Abel Shittim in the plains of Moab. All right. So got through all that. I butchered them names, I'm sure, but I'm glad we went ahead and read through it. And the thing to think about is this big, massive group of people going from one camp to the next. And that part of the world ain't that big either, if you think about it. But it's big enough that, they kept moving from one place to the next like that. And God sustained them through all that. Now I'm going to read 50 through 53. Let me get those. All right. Instructions for possessing the land. All right. Here's going to be the Lord speaking unto Moses. And the Lord spake unto Moses in the plains of Moab by Jordan near Jericho, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye are passed over Jordan into the land of Canaan, and cross that river, get into that land of Canaan, then ye shall drive out all the inhabitants of the land from before you, and destroy all their pitchers, and destroy all their molten images, and quite pluck down all their high places. Of course, y'all know what molten image is, except in high places were places on top of hills that they had constructed to worship the moon god or whatever different things they had devised. It's like the different groups around in Canaan. They had similar things going on, but there's a little difference in a lot of them in the worship of the false gods that they had. And this is God telling Moses, when you guys go into the land, so think about it, what's really going to be important when you go into this land with these sinful people, these Canaanites, we know they had terrible habits. We know they had terrible worship practices. We've all heard the stories and read the stories about the atrocities and the evil that was in their hearts and the crazy things they did. And you got God's people going to move into this new land that God's promised. Are they going to be able to absorb into that population and not be affected by that bad moral corruption that those people have going on? No, and that's why God's telling them, you got to get them out of here. You can't allow it to stay. Because we'll read into the future when Solomon starts marrying women from different kind of religious backgrounds, what happens to poor old King Solomon? Well, he goes all to pieces. So no matter how strong you think these people are, they can't go in and worship the one true God beside these false gods. It's not going to work. Remember, this stuff is ingrained. It is embedded into these people in this land. They've had 400 years just since Abraham left that land for this to happen to these people, to them to be like this. And it's come to the fruition. I think there's a verse we read or going to read that the time of the Amorites ain't come yet. And it's because they, over this period of time, they just kept getting worse and worse and worse. They ain't no getting better. And for some reason, this is God's part of the world. People just going to have to accept that. Even what you see today on TV and you hear, this is God's part of the world. Now, I know there are parts they trying to share with these Palestinians and stuff, but for some reason, God chose this part of the world. And even back then, he told them to go into this land and clean these people out of this. And we're going to see where they fail at some degree, and it's going to cause them problems in the future because they didn't follow God's instructions to clean this land out. But God, this is God's land. He says it is in here, but he chose this part of the world. And in the future, we'll see why. But anyway, all right, to destroy the pagan worship, that's the main thing. Read verse 54. And ye shall divide the land by lot for an inheritance among your families, and to the more ye shall give the more inheritance. Bigger population gets more of a land allotment. That's pretty much common sense. More people's going to need a bigger part of land. More inheritance, and to the fewer ye shall give the less inheritance. Every man's inheritance shall be in the place where his lot falleth, according to the tribes of your fathers ye shall inherit. All right. 55 through 56. But if you will not drive out the inhabitants of the land, here we've got a warning that God's given Moses here. If you do not drive out the inhabitants of the land, that is these pagan worshiping Canaanite people who have these awful practices of how they worship their gods and the things they got going on. Remember, these people are evil. These people have a bad heart. They have some crazy stuff going on. All right, 55. But if you will not drive out the inhabitants of the land from before you, then it shall come to pass that those which ye let remain of them shall be pricks in your eyes and thorns in your sides, and shall vex you in the land wherein ye dwell. Moreover, it shall come to pass that I shall do unto you as I thought to do unto them. So now what is God thinking to do unto these inhabitants of Canaan, these Canaanites? They are to be eliminated. They're going to be hauled off, got rid of. And what's going to happen to you guys know what we're going to read in the future in the book of Kings, etc. What's going to happen to God's people? What's going to happen the Assyrians are going to come in and haul a bunch of them back to that part of the world, kill a tremendous number of the Israelites, and then the Babylonians are going to come in and finish the job around Jerusalem. So, and it's all because it starts right in here, where they're not driving the people out of the land, not getting rid of the inhabitants of God's land there, and their pagan practices for that matter. And all you have to do is look today. Gaza, what do they talk about? Come in from the north from the Golan Heights. If you go back and look, and we'll read about this in the chapters coming up, in the books coming up, in the book of Joshua. These are going to be some of the strongholds in areas where they didn't finish the job. And even to this day, you're going to see that there's still pricks in their eyes and thorns in their sides, just like God told them it would be, all these thousands of years later. All right, chapter 34, the division of the land of Canaan, the boundaries. All right, of course, God had some boundaries picked out for this. And I'll read these. Today, modern Israel, you can look to the north, Syria's up there. It's kind of be the northern border. Of course, the Mediterranean Sea is basically going to be your western border, and the River Jordan's your eastern border. And then it's hard for me to describe that southern border down there, but if you look at a map, it's kind of where Egypt kind of goes up to the bottom of modern day Israel. If you'll remember in some of the news cycles we see in Gaza where they talk about between Gaza and Egypt in that area in there, that they've got a line that even the Palestinians can't go over into Egypt. That's roughly down in the southern border. But anyway, I'll read those for you here. All right. Read verses 1 through 12. This is just the borders being defined and God defining them through Moses. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye come into the land of Canaan, this is the land that shall fall unto you for an inheritance, even the land of Canaan with the coast thereof. And we'll read here in the future, they never fully claim everything that God promises them. King David and King Solomon, I think, is the extreme part of how much of the land that they ruled. But they never got it all. But anyway, we're going. Then your south quarter shall be from the wilderness of Zin along the coast of Edom, and your south border shall be the outmost coast of the Salt Sea eastward, and your border shall turn from the south to the ascent of the Acribium and pass to Zin, and the going forth thereof shall be from the south of Kadesh Barnea, and shall go to the Hazazar and pass on to Asmon. And the border shall fetch a compass from Asmon unto the river of Egypt, and the goings out of it shall be at the sea, the Mediterranean Sea. And then the Salt Sea was talking about, of course, is the Dead Sea. I didn't mention that earlier. But as for the western border, this is the western Mediterranean, ye shall have the great sea for the border, and this shall be your west border. Pretty simple. And this shall be your north border. From the great sea ye shall point out for you Mount Hor. From Mount Hor ye shall point out your border unto the entrance of Hamath, and the goings forth of the border shall be to Zedad. And the border shall go on to Ziphron, and the goings out of it shall be at Hazar Enon, and this shall be your north border. And ye shall point out your east border from Hazar Enon to Shepham, and the coast shall go down to Shepham to Riblah on the east side of Ain, and the border shall descend and shall reach unto the side of the sea of Chinnereth eastward. And the border shall go down to Jordan, and the goings out of it shall be at the Salt Sea, the Dead Sea. This shall be your land, which the coast thereof round about. So that's kind of roughly the borders. All right. Now I'm going to read. I got to read on 2:15 here. The allotment. Now, Moses commanded the children of Israel, saying, This is the land by which ye shall inherit by the lot, which the Lord commanded to give you unto the 9 tribes and to the half tribe. Now remember, you got 9.5, and then we got 2.5. It's going to stay on the other side, on the east side of Jordan. All right. For the tribe of the children of Reuben, according to their house of their fathers, and the tribe of the children of Gad, according to the house of their fathers, have received their inheritance. And half tribe of Manasseh has received their inheritance. That's on that east side of Jordan. The two tribes and the half tribe have received their inheritance on this side of the Jordan near Jericho eastward toward the sun rising. It's on the east side of the Jordan. Because remember, that's where they're at now. They're on this east side of the Jordan. We have not crossed into the promised land with them yet. That's coming up. The battles are coming. So that's where they're at now. Now I'm going to read 16 through 29. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, and it's something else, as we go in later in the book of Joshua, Lord speaking directly to Moses. He's speaking to Moses through this entire book of the Bible. And that's not going to happen in the future with Joshua, I'm pretty sure. His communication is going to be more in line with the high priest, if I'm right. I may be wrong, but just something struck me. Moses is really special here in a way. Think about it, because God's speaking to him directly, and he's passing the words on to the people. So, all right, 16 through 29. All right. So, Lord spake unto Moses, saying, these are the names of the men which shall divide the land unto you: Eleazar the priest, and Joshua the son of Nun. So these are two senior men. Remember, Eleazar is the high priest because Aaron has passed. His son is the high priest now. And of course, Joshua, he's been around because he's one of the two original spies that come back and said we could take this land 38 years ago. And God seen him through to get through to now. So, two senior men. And ye shall take one prince of every tribe, that's somebody from each tribe, the leadership, to divide the land by inheritance. And the names of the men of these, of the tribe of Judah, Caleb, and the son of Jephunneh, and of the tribe of the children of Simeon, Shemuel, the son of Ammihud. Of the tribe of Benjamin, Eliab, the son of Chislon, and the prince of the tribe of the children of Dan, Bukai, the son of Joglai, the prince of the children of Joseph, for the tribe of children of Manasseh, Haniel, the son of Ephod, and the prince of the tribe of the children of Ephraim, Kemuel, the son of Shephan, and the prince of the tribe of the children of Zebulun, Elizaphan, the son of Parnach, and the prince of the tribe of the children of Issachar, Paltiel, the son of Azan, and the prince of the tribe of the children of Asher, Ahihud, the son of Shelomah, and the prince of the tribe of the children of Naphtali, Pedahel, the son of Ammihud. These are they whom the Lord commanded to divide the inheritance unto the children of Israel in the land of Canaan. All right, so got through that. This is being supervised by high priest and Joshua. So now we're moving on pretty good clip. We're in chapter 35 today. All right. Chapter 35 and verse 1. This is getting into a section about the cities of refuge that we talked briefly about in one of the other chapters. If you remember, the Levites are not going to get an inheritance of land, of course, because they do the priestly work, but they are going to be in these cities of refuge. They are going to have cities that's allotted to them in different spots around the nation. So anyway, we'll start. I'm going to read verses 1 through 8. All right. And the Lord spake unto Moses in the plains of Moab by Jordan near Jericho, saying, Command the children of Israel that they give unto the Levites of the inheritance of their possession cities to dwell in, and ye shall give also unto the Levites suburbs. That's those areas around the cities, farming, etc., like that's going on. For the cities round about them, and the cities shall they have to dwell in, and the suburbs of them shall be for their cattle and their goods, and for all their beasts. And the suburbs of the cities which ye shall give unto the Levites shall reach from the wall of the city and outward 1,000 cubits round about. And I think if you remember, a cubit, like the distance of a forearm or something. So it's a pretty big area. I think that's right. I may be getting that one wrong. I didn't make notes on that. And ye shall measure from without the city on the east side 2,000 cubits, and on the south side 2,000 cubits, and the west side 2,000 cubits. And on the north side 2,000 cubits, and the city shall be in the midst. This shall be to them the suburbs of the cities. And among the cities which ye shall give unto the Levites, there shall be 6 cities for refuge. So we got 6 cities of refuge, and you got typical cities, which ye shall appoint for the manslayer. that he may flee thither, and to them ye shall add 42 cities. Now, this manslayer, don't get this confused with a murderer. This is going to be defined here in the verses coming up when we read about this. A murderer is going to be someone who picks up a stick and hits a man with it and kills him deliberately, throws a rock at him, however be what kind of weapon he uses, it is a murder. And there's going to be circumstances, this manslayer, where someone is accidentally killed. Maybe if you didn't control your ox and it run over a guy or something and killed him, you know. And still, you got to remember, too, and keep in your mind, it's easy to read this and not think about it, but think about this land now. It's pretty easy for us to distinguish murder and manslayer and all that because we've got police. We have a law enforcement system in our society today. All this stuff is defined and controlled and taken care of. But these people are not going to have a police force. They don't have that. So God is giving them rules on how to keep things at peace and correctly do things. Because I think we all know the tendency of man to want to get even with somebody when he's done wrong. Therein lies part of the problem this helps solve, is because, number one, usually if you put his eye out by accident or something, he's probably going to come back and put both of your eyes out, is the way it's going to be. You know, it's just nature for a lot of people. But back then, God's going to have this system where my man accidentally killed somebody. Like I said, he let his ox get out of control and he ran over him. Well, the man has a brother, and he's going to be upset, and he's going to say, why didn't you keep your ox under control? I'm going to kill you. And the next thing you know, if you've heard of the Hatfields and McCoys, I don't know a whole lot about it. I just know it was a family feud thing up in our recent history of our nation, where one person would get mad and somebody done something to the other, and pretty soon you got the whole family killing back and forth and killing each other, and then you've got the whole family wiped out because what was accidentally a manslaughter case. So, think about it. God's setting this up where this manslaughter, the man that accidentally killed somebody like this, not a murder, but a manslaughter, instead of letting each family to wipe each other out because one kills the other and gets even, he goes and he stays in this city of refuge. And it's not like a free pass. Think about it. His family's probably off somewhere else. But he's got to stay in this city of refuge until the high priest in Jerusalem passes, is what we're going to read here coming up in the verses coming up. So, and if he steps outside of that city of refuge, that as far as his refuge goes. He steps out of that city of refuge, he's fair game, is what's going to happen. So he's got his end of the deal he's got to keep up with there. It's not just a free pass. And so, I'm getting a little bit ahead of it and telling what we got here, but these suburbs, grazing land, we got 48 cities, 6 of which are going to be refuge. And that's for those what we call guilty of manslaughter today, not murder. God has no use for murderers, and we're going to see that here in a few minutes. All right? We got a couple more minutes. 16 or 9. Yeah. Cities of refuge. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, here's our cities of refuge. Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when you come over Jordan into the land of Canaan, then ye shall appoint your cities to be cities of refuge for you, that the slayer, that's the manslaughter case, may flee thither, which killeth any person at unawares, accidentally, like we're saying. And they shall be unto you cities for refuge from the avenger. That's the brother or the father or something. It felt like he needed to get vengeance on someone who accidentally killed a member of their family. That the manslayer die not until he stand before the congregation in judgment. And of these cities which ye shall give, 6 cities shall ye have for refuge. Ye shall give 3 cities on this side Jordan, and 3 cities ye shall give in the land of Canaan. So now why do we need 3 cities on the east side of Jordan? Because you got the tribes of Reuben and Gad going to settle that part of the land over there. So let me get a little bit, one more verse. These 6 cities shall be a refuge both for the children of Israel and for the stranger and for the sojourner among them, that every one that killeth any person unawares may flee to that refuge, city of refuge. All right, we'll